Hello and welcome to a Bible study with Paul Hart. Today's subject is Gifts and Ministries in the New Testament.
Gifts and Ministries in the New Testament, the power displays of the Holy Spirit. Here we'll take a reading as these are described by Paul, writing to the Corinthian church in chapter 12, verse 7 to 11.
Now to each one the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. To one there is given through the Spirit the message of wisdom, to another the message of knowledge by means of the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another gifts of healing by that one Spirit, to another miraculous powers, to another prophecy, to another distinguishing between spirits, to another speaking in different kinds of tongues, and to still another the interpretation of tongues. All these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and He gives them to each one just as He determines.
The Holy Spirit wants to show Himself and display His powerful presence in each believer for the benefit of all. In His foreknowledge of the need, the Holy Spirit is already preparing the believers and His servants with a communication of His power to meet that situation. That so few are truly presenting themselves to be used as a channel of blessing in the church is a serious problem for the church worldwide today. How far it has fallen from the early church practice. Power displays named with purpose. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1 and 7. Let's read those now.
Now about spiritual gifts, brothers, I do not want you to be ignorant. Now to each one the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good.
In verse 1, the translators have used the term gifts, which is not in the original text, and the King James Version puts that word in italics to show this. The words spirituals or things belonging to the Spirit is what the word really means. This is an unfortunate use as it implies a receiving instead of a giving concept. In verse 7, the term manifestation is used and means that the Holy Spirit actually wants to display Himself in His power. Not the inward-looking get or receive mentality, but the outward showing of the Holy Spirit's power and presence for the good of others. Stop looking for a power gift to arrive and instead start cooperating with what the Holy Spirit in you has already assigned and wants to show and reveal in your ministry life. Power displays for all. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7 and 8 and 11.
Now to each one the manifestation of the Spirit is given for the common good. To one there is given through the Spirit the message of wisdom, to another the message of knowledge by means of the same Spirit. All these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and He gives them to each one just as He determines.
In verse 7, the phrase each one, then in verse 8, to one and to another, shows that every believer is to be involved. And if after the displays are documented you are still doubtful, the Holy Spirit in verse 11 gives Paul a repeated emphasis that the same Spirit gives to each one just as He determines. No cop-outs are here or excuses. This list of power displays is meant to be spread across the whole church and every member. We all have, under the Spirit's assignment, a particular power display, and more probably a number of them, which is part of the Holy Spirit's ministry cluster in you. Another will have a different grouping and also different ways of working and life settings, and together we carry the work of the Holy Spirit forward in effective power. Power displays for blessing, solutions, encouragement and guidance. Let's look at the list. The word of wisdom. It is simply a wise word from God sent miraculously to a person to share into the situation of need and confusion. The word of knowledge. A piece or fragment of God's knowledge given without learning, quite miraculously. You did not and could not know, and no one told you. Faith. A supernatural moment of great faith coming for a moment to accomplish a specific act or meet a specific need. Gifts of healing. The Spirit releases a moment of healing as a gift to be carried to its intended recipient or recipients who are in need. The word gifts or charisma is used as these are gracious favours. Miraculous powers. Effective working of power to the situation of need. Often result in an observed miracle. And that's why it's often miracle is put there, but it's not in the actual text. It's working of power. Prophecy. The Spirit giving God's words for the moment, mostly to encourage but sometimes predictive with guidance. It is and must be testable, as are the results of all these displays of His power. Discerning of spirits. A clear and detailed discrimination, discerning, revealing and judging between spirits, mostly evil. Tongues and interpretation. Equaling prophecy and must work together. Power displays. How to start or refresh. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 31 and chapter 14 verses 1 and 39 and Ephesians chapter 4 verse 30. Now these give us some interesting starts about this. You've got to desire them. Now if you do this is what we found is really effective. Open your arms wide and say, Holy Spirit, here I am. I let you show yourself through me. Train me as you speak, I will obey. That's not an invitation for the Holy Spirit to come in. If you're a believer, He's already in. What you've got to do is give Him permission to use you, your voice, thoughts, body, to go out in power. That is the problem. That's why it says in verse 7, it's the manifestations of the Holy Spirit. The word gifts is not a receiving, it's actually all about giving. He is a gentleman. Do not grieve Him by saying no any longer. In these Bible chapters, we're encouraged to desire and seek the things of the Holy Spirit, and He's looking for reliable, righteous, cooperative, and obedient vessels to flow through to a needful church and a suffering, dying world. He needs you. Here's a testimony. At the beginning of my growth in the Holy Spirit, I experienced an interesting incident one night shift in the paper mill where I worked. Whilst doing my rounds as a shift chemist, I stopped to talk with one of the workers who opened up about his life, telling me of his time as a youth at his grandma's house. Having flu on one occasion, she mixed him up a drink which gave him a great lift and the flu dissipated very quickly. In my ear, the Lord said, it's a potion, meaning that he had demonic power as its healing source, but he was not aware of that. As the conversation unfolded over a few nights, he revealed a whole sequence of occult events he had witnessed in her house concerning what the Lord had said to me. Much later, I was able to share that and pray with the young man, and the results of that will only be known in heaven. We must begin somewhere in our ministry journey, and this revealing of things connected with the kingdom of darkness has continued and deepened in me where today liberty and victory has been achieved for many. The Holy Spirit will train and lead us, so don't be afraid. Just say, "Here I am, Lord." Let the Holy Spirit do his work and show himself in you. He needs believers' righteous bodies to minister to a suffering, dying world. God bless you all.